All right, everybody, thanks for checking out the YouTube page today and seeing our new video where we are going to be talking about the top 5 things we enjoyed the most with the Final Fantasy VII Remake. So Sergeant's sons have no sons today on this channel. We are going to be talking with myself and one of my best friends growing up, Eric.
Hey.
Alright, and we are going to be talking about one of our most beloved role-playing games. I would say not even role-playing, but just one of our most beloved video games of all time, Final Fantasy VII. And how well they did on the remake, because as fans of the original Final Fantasy VII, the bar was already set high. So we'll be discussing our top 5 things and overall how we think they did with the game. So check it out. Alright guys, so we are going to go over 5 things we like. The top 5 things we like from Final Fantasy VII Remake. We've already discussed these and now we're going to share it with you. So please feel free to like and subscribe to this video and let us know if you agree with our top 5 things or if you had other things about the game that you liked that didn't make our top 5 list. So Eric, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you for our first thing that we liked about the Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yes. So the first thing I think is the most important for me is the ability to use the way that the summons are used on the remake game. I think it brought a little bit of being able to play with it on next to you when you're fighting, but it also gives you the visual effects of the main attack that the summons do, which I think was a really nice add to the game.
Yeah, I agree, guys. So I think with the way they did the gameplay mechanics, since it's no longer a turn-based, hit-for-hit type situation with the side-scrolling battle system, the way they made it more action-oriented, this was really the only logical way to do the summons. But one thing that I was very happy about, and you mentioned, was I like how they still had their ultimate move that could be pulled off, right? Yeah. So not only are they fighting with you and you can kind of use smaller abilities, you still get that really nice, fantastic cutscene type hit with the summons, which we all remember from the older Final Fantasy VII Remake or Final Fantasy VII game when you called them down and they essentially just had that one big hit. So I really like the way they did those two.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So moving along to our second one, guys, and this is probably one of the ones that I think they did a really good job with, was fleshing out the side characters and adding more depth to the playable characters, right? So I recently played Final Fantasy VII again after beating the remake, and it did not take me that long to get out of Midgar from how I remembered it when I was a kid playing the game. So, I was out of Midgar after several hours of gameplay. So for them to make an entire game of Final Fantasy VII, I don't know, how many hours did you put into the game?
The original?
The remake.
The remake, I put about 40 to 50.
Yeah, right? So most people are beating it between 40, 50 hours. So when you look at how much extra content they put into Midgar itself, I really felt like, first of all, that was a character within itself. Each one of these slums, each one of the sectors of Midgar was really fleshed out. But what really struck me as fantastic was how much of an attachment we ended up making with Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge. Right, if you remember playing the original Final Fantasy VII, they were in there. They were side characters, but when things happened to them in the storyline, it really didn't make as big an impact because you really did not get to flesh out their characters a lot. In this one, they all got their own time to shine. And it made it more emotional when you got to play the game and see what happened to those characters. And then fleshing out our main characters. I thought they did an excellent job, particularly with Tifa. Right, I'm a big fan of Tifa. I still say Cloud should have been Team Tifa, not Team Aerith. All right, in terms of who he should have tried to, have a, I guess a relationship with, right? Because to me, Tifa was the person that was his right hand, like ride or die, if you want to say. So I really think they did a great job fleshing out those characters. So that was our second top 5 memorable things they did with the Final Fantasy VII Remake. What about the third one, Eric?
Well, on a side note, I also like the fact that it felt like a family. Like, it made you feel like you were in there and they were all like one big family.
Yeah, it did, right? I think even with like Barrett, Marlene, and but seeing how everybody kind of took care of Marlene, and it wasn't just Barrett, and how Barrett really did just look over everybody as like the big Papa Bear, right? Because he's big, and on the outside he's like that, but on the inside with his family, he is a big teddy bear, right? He just really cares about them. So I do think they did a great job making them a big family, not only within themselves, but also showing how much of an impact they really had in the town.
Yeah.
Right? These were people that the other town members really looked up to in terms of what they contributed to, their city. So I thought that was really done well.
Yeah, it was. All right, so on the third, the way that we started out on the seven remake it reminded me so much of the original 7. Where on the train, when you first come into the game, and it's a train that and it pulls up, and you hop down, and the first couple of fights with the bad guys, I thought that was really cool how they did that, and it kind of gave me a memory of like whenever I was 15 or whatever it was when I first played the game. It was amazing.
Yeah, I think they had 2 routes to go with this really when they started the game, right? Show everybody that this is going to be a different game, and that we're going to kind of blaze our own path, which I think would have kind of been a mistake. Or the second one was, hey, look, this is an iconic game, and one of the things that makes this game iconic is the very first scene of the game and the very first playthrough where you're going to take out the reactor. And I think they did an excellent job, because I think as a fan, like you said, of when we were kids playing this game, I think what really struck out to me as soon as I played it for the first time was, you know what? This is Final Fantasy VII. It is the game that I have loved for, over 20 years. So in that sense, I'm excited to play it. So I think they did a great job starting it off with that iconic initial part of the game and not trying to add anything extra to it.
Yeah, and just to be certain, just so you know, the remake is not exactly Final Fantasy VII. So it's going to be a longer game. It's going to last a lot longer. So don't expect to be there in like 10 hours.
Yeah, you won't.
You won't make it in 10 hours.
Exactly. And I think even though it is kind of a linear type game, if you get to the end of the game, you'll see that there are some things in there they've added for some replayability, because you'll need to get your characters all the way up to level 50 before you even attempt, spoiler alert, to get some of the final summons in the game, right? Because you're not going to be able to get them until you're level 50.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Awesome. So, and then for the fourth one, we both kind of talked about the gameplay. So, Eric, one thing that struck out to you was the difficulty setting and the boss fight. So, why was that such a big part for you in the game?
Because it's hard. Even on medium, it's like really difficult. But it makes it that much funner, because you have to figure out a way to actually get ahead on fighting the bosses on the game. I thought that was really cool, because you can play Final Fantasy VII the original and just putting some materia in there in a certain way, and you can beat them real easy. But this made it a lot more difficult and made you actually think about what you're doing before you do it.
Yeah, so when we talk about iconic, one of the things that stuck out in the original Final Fantasy VII was the battle system and the use of materia. So I think that the way they did the battle system on this one being so different from the original Final Fantasy VII, keeping materia as such a huge part of the boss fight specifically made materia important. So in that sense, they added to the depth of the game and didn't really change it, right? Because, I think if you would have just gotten rid of the whole materia part, it would have really taken away from the overall feel of the game, where it wouldn't have felt like Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Right? So last was probably the easiest one to agree on for Final Fantasy VII Remake. So when we both talked about the top 5 things we liked about the game, this was easily the clear winner. So this game is important to both of us. Right?
Yeah.
And we do not want to play a bad version of Final Fantasy VII. We want to play something we're going to enjoy, and something that, comes at least close to the way we would have imagined it if we were in control of it.
Yeah.
So the number one thing we both agreed on for Final Fantasy VII Remake that we were both impressed with was the visuals, right? It is a beautiful game. All right, the character models, the world of Midgar, the summons, the animations, the voice acting, the presentation on this game was top notch. They really did a great job.
Even down to the little like things on his shirt that you can kind of see it looked like it was 3D on his shirt.
Yeah, it was one of those games like after you watch a cutscene, if you had never played the game before, you would have still been waiting for him to do something, thinking you're still in the cutscene.
Yeah.
It's one of those games that you have to realize the cutscene's over and you should move your character on the screen because the graphics are so beautiful. So I really think coming out with Final Fantasy VII towards the end of the PlayStation 4 era really showed the power of the PlayStation 4. I think if they would have brought this out at the beginning of the PlayStation 4 before the developers had a chance to really test and push the hardware itself, it wouldn't have been as good. And I'm really excited now with the announcement of the Xbox once the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, you would assume that the next Final Fantasy VII episode is going to take place on, if not both consoles, it will be on the PlayStation 5. So in that sense, it excites me to think of how great those graphics are going to be when the time comes for that.
Yep, I agree.
So there you have it, guys. So Eric, thanks again for joining today. And again, guys, if you like this video and you like what we talked about today, please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. You can also find Sergeant Son on Twitch and TikTok. And then Eric, I believe you also have a YouTube channel that they can track?
Yep, you can track mine. It's DelcastGaming, and you can also find it on YouTube.
Alright, so there you go, guys. So DelcastGaming on YouTube, and feel free to like and subscribe to this channel. We'll be putting out more content with my son. And thanks for joining us today, and I hope you've had some time to enjoy Final Fantasy VII Remake just like we have both.
Yep, bye.
Alright, see you later, guys.